Out a dream. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It is awesome to have you with us. Well, I am thrilled that we could have Jessica Carson and Clandestine Amigo here with us as our climax for our Summer Sundown Music and Talk series. When I first stepped on to the Hope team as the director, I want to mute. Can you mute my computer? Can you mute my computer? Thank you. Thank you. So we're getting an echo of my words that are not that important. When I first stepped on back in the spring and COVID hit, Jessica was one of the first people I met because I don't know anybody in Longmont. And Jessica graciously met with me with Doug and Tim. We sat at Wibby's and they let me know a little bit more about Longmont, and we started talking about lots of different ideas, and this was one of them. And she generously sent me a long email giving me links and names to bands and all sorts of information that has borne great fruit. She is the reason that Kathleen McCoy was our second speaker at the event number 2. So this is event number 5. It's our last one. And now we are going to prepare after this event for our big annual fundraising gala that is going to be right here on this stage because of Unity Church's sponsorship of us. What would we be doing? We didn't have a place to have our virtual gala, and they have stepped forward to generously support what is our main way that our donors support our programming as we help people move from homelessness into housing and into employment. And if you have been following everything that we've been doing, you'll know that we've tripled our programming. So we're taking really big risks to be at the service of our community in Longmont and Boulder County. We'd love to have you support us. You can visit the website and learn all about the gala. You can attend for very little. You can attend a watch party and have a few friends that you're comfortable having at your house. We have party baskets, or you can just attend without the extra La Momo Mays goodies and wine given from Wyatt's. Either way, we'd love to have you join us. The staff and the volunteers and the clients have all stepped forward to prepare a gala that's not only reaching out to open ourselves to receive funds, but also to share with you the inspirational stories, the successes and the challenges that we've had this past year. So I hope dearly that you won't miss the opportunity. It will be September 25th. Now, during this performance tonight, 50% of your donations go to support Clandestine Amigo. So please, if you're watching and you're feeling really inspired, you can step right on and donate on our website. That's www.HOPEforLongmont.org. And we split everything right down the middle to support these musicians. It's a blessing to be able to give them the chance to play. I know COVID has changed everyone's reality when it comes to music. So let me step off and remind you we've got an awesome talk afterwards that we'll be talking about the wound of separation with Scott Brown. Stay around for that, but now let me step away so you can enjoy this amazing band. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Kimberly. Thank you for having us. Well, we have an album coming up, I guess in about 2 weeks. I think we're going to release it on the 19th of this month. And here's a song from that called On Your Own. To be here, 'cause here I am. Not sure if I wondered or if I had a plan. to know you, 'cause I already do. Fragments of your memory really keep shining through. I hoped that I would see any sense of change, but from where I'm looking on, I can see it just the same. And I know that you love the eyes that you're feeling, and you'll still believe in that they'll lend you a hand, but everyone's gone, left you to drown there on your own, 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 on your own. You're on your own, on your own, on your own. You're on your own, on your own, on your own. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I hear applause in my head. That's the one weird thing about live streams. Everybody's gonna hurt you, and everybody's gonna lie. Everybody's gonna leave you. Ain't no security in life. I've been stung by a lover, I've been soothed with a lie. I see myself in the mirror, and I see myself in your eyes. And as I look at my reflection, I feel an urgency to hide. I am capable of evil, and you could cross those same lines. Everybody's gonna hurt you, and everybody's gonna lie. security in life. I tried my best to discover what's going on in my mind. There's so much I've uncovered, there's so many ways I'm still blind. And as I look at my intentions, if I'm being honest with myself, I've been making my decisions based on the love of someone else. Everybody's gonna hurt you, and everybody's gonna lie. Everybody's gonna leave you. Ain't no security in life. I said everybody's gonna hurt you, and everybody's gonna lie. Everybody's gonna leave you. Ain't no security in life. Everybody's gonna hurt you, and everybody's gonna lie. Everybody's gonna leave you. Ain't no security in life. I said everybody's gonna hurt you, and everybody's gonna lie. Everybody's gonna leave you. Ain't no security in life. Everybody's gonna leave you. Ain't no security in life. Everybody's gonna leave you. It's just a matter of time. Wow, I am hearing clapping. What a wonderful sound. Passing of time to an occupied mind is as invisible as the lines that you have in your face. They are concealed when you're not engaged. But when you're aware, I can see all the lines of time. It seems of space. hopelessly bound to neurotic ideals that I have failed to lock away. I don't know what I feel, but you know I'd have it on display. Some drought of desire, and your love is the only chance that I can see of rain. And when I feel lonely, the thought of you keeps me company. When I get lost in my mind, you are the light that shines. You help me find my way home. When I feel lonely, the thought of you keeps me company. When I get lost in my mind, you are the light that shines. You help me find my way home. Thank you. So thank you for those of us, the 3 people we have here in the room. It's wonderful. And thank you if you're watching online. We appreciate you tuning in. If you are able and, it's not too much trouble to click a few things, please make a donation. It goes to HOPE, Homeless Outreach Center in Longmont. I think it's all very important for us to have some sort of home, even if it's not a structure, just feeling the feeling of belonging. So thank you to HOPE for helping people find that. Ready? Another song then. Ignorance. I tried to pass it off as simple innocence. I have been caught in a lie that's too deep to not try to defend. But I have chosen the truth at the cost of all my friends. And I've been depending on you so hard for so long. The way I needed you was so wrong and so young. And when I asked you to show yourself, you didn't been looking around to see the face beneath the crown, but I could only find me, my own voice, the only sound. And I've been depending on you so hard for so long. The way I used you was so wrong and so young. And when I asked you to show yourself, you didn't respond, 'cause you were long gone, long gone, long gone. Thank you. I want to take a moment to introduce these lovely amigos playing with me. Over here on the bass, we have Chris Brunhaver. Also an excellent taco maker, just so you know, and a speaker designer. So he's very multi-talented. We have Mr. Fancy Pants or No Pants, Michael Wooten, on the drums over here. Mr. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, famous for many bands. And Giselle Collazo, my soul sister, one of my closest friends. And we are going to do a song called Dualities for you. This song has gone through many renditions now at this point, changing lyrics and changing keys and arrangements and how we do it. But this song is a nod to one of my favorite Texas songwriters named Butch Hancock. I am the bluebird singing my song. I am the rose in bloom. I am the villain of somebody's life, the perfect picture of doom. I am the lover that cries in the night into another's soul. I've tried to reconcile all of the lies, but there's just too many I've told. So I live with the lies I have told. I am a pattern swirling around, a spectrum of light on the wall. I see a doorway all the way down, millions of doors in a hall. Sometimes I want to pass all of the doors and walk to the end right now. But I never know what this life had in store if I took the easy way out, 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 out. So I won't take the easy way out. I am a vagabond out in the world. I am somebody's home. I am a woman grown from a girl, and I've never been on my own. I had gone looking for quiet and peace, and found that the noise was mine. There's always somebody talking to me, it's coming from somewhere inside. So I live with the noise in my mind. It's hard to know when that one ends. Thank you.
Thank you.
This next song is a new tune, well, relatively new. I wrote this at the beginning of the shelter-in-place order, so this is my first quarantine song. Yeah. The winter's past, but we all stay in. The invisible guards our prison. When everything is standing still, we realize what we don't know. Maybe we'll be here for a while, but where do we really have to go? Good things come to those who wait. I've been on the run, so am I too late? When everything is standing still, we realize what we don't know. Maybe we'll be here for a while, but where do we really have to go? Where do we have to go? People having visions tell me how I should be living. Feels like I'm stuck inside a dream. Every day new information, still waking up to my heart aching. Pull me out of this machine. When everything is standing still, we realize what we don't know. Maybe we'll be here for a while, but where do we really have to go? Where do we have to go? Where do we have to go? Where do we have to go?
Thank you.
Strange to think winter is just around the corner again. Here's another quarantine song. I kind of when I write songs, I feel like there's a time frame that they fit together, and then something pivots and something shifts, and the songs feel different. I write about something else. But this is still in the vein for me. Maybe it feels different to you, but it's still in the vein for me. The wind shaking the trees, you're on your knees. I made up my mind, but you hang around, praying for me to come down. I'm too far gone. There's no reaching me. You get along if you let it be. I swing back and forth, knowing I'll end when I release your hand. I fall like the rain that cries for the ground, gravity bound. I'm too far gone. There's no reaching me. You get along if you let it be. I'm too far gone. There's no reaching me. You get along if you let it be. I'm too far gone. There's no reaching me. You get along in time. Thank you. I know how the internet works, and I know that there are people that just started watching this show. So if that's you, because that would be me, because if I can be late, I will be, please consider donating. Hope does a lot of great stuff in Longmont, and I'm sure beyond that. So I don't know what the screen looks like, but I assume somewhere on the screen or somewhere posted, there's PayPal information or Venmo information, so please consider that. And assuming you do, this next song is called Thank You, so that's perfect.
You planned it that way.
I may have. I may have seen that coming. pushing me to my limit. I wanna thank you for showing me what I can't stand. I had to know what it looks like to really be in it, and what it looks like to just stick around for the lack of a plan. Round and round these patterns I've turned. I don't know if I'll stop, but I know what I've learned. The picture's clear, and I'm jumping off right here. I don't think complacency has ever looked good on me. But if I don't know what I want, I don't know how to move. I try not to bother myself with the concept of winning, 'cause winning one thing so often means something else I'll have to lose. Round and round these patterns I've turned. I don't know if I'll stop, but I know what I've learned. The picture's clear, and I'm jumping off right here. Over and over I go, trying to find what I already know. Round and round these patterns I've turned. I don't know if I'll stop, but I know what I've learned. The picture's clear, and I'm jumping off right here. I wanna thank you for pushing me to my limit. Thank you so much. We have a couple more for you. This has been a lot of fun. You know, we don't get the band together much because there are no shows, so why would we get together? But it gave us a reason to get together and play, and that's been a great time. So thank you for providing that opportunity and spreading some music around and doing a good thing. This is a song called Ain't No Going Back Home, also in the quarantine vein of songwriting. Boxed up on my things, don't think I'll unpack until this weight is lifted off my back. Walked around the edge, skated on the ice until I fell into what was inevitably right, and there ain't no going back home. When I see you again, I know we'll still be friends, but there ain't no going back. got a good excuse to hide out from the world. Everyone has disappeared, so they won't notice any holes. The hole I'm trying to fill, well, it makes my body hurt. Processing the truth of another lesson learned, and there ain't no going back home. When I see you again, I know we'll still be friends, but there ain't no going, there ain't no going back home. Going back home. When I see you again, I know we'll still be friends, but there ain't no going, there ain't no going back home. Thank you very much. People here in person and people on the internet, thank you. We have one more song for you. Thank you so much for joining us. We are Clandestine Amigo, and you know, I know it's a thing to say your website and all the stuff, but Google knows. Just type it into the Googles, and you will find us. Or the YouTubes, either one. Or the Patreon. So many places to find us. So thank you for joining us. We've got one more song called That Deep Blue. This is my newest tune. So thanks, amigos. I'm digging my heels in, terrified to be taken by the wind. I've planted all these seeds and I don't want to leave until I see them grow. I'll never know, standing on the edge of a world that I haven't met. Somehow I can feel it in my chest, I can feel it in my head. My eyes have never seen what's beyond it, still my mind knows how to dream of a place that I will run to, of that deep blue. Attachment is the key to the door. I see marked suffering, and when I do let go and feel my spirit flow, will I be at peace? Will I find what I seek? Standing on the edge of a world that I haven't met. Somehow I can feel it in my chest, I can feel it in my head. My eyes have never seen what's beyond, and still my A moment in time, eternity lays with gravity, and love blinks tonight. Standing on the edge of a world that I haven't met. Somehow I can feel it in my chest. I can feel it in my head. My eyes have never seen what's beyond. Still my mind knows how to dream of a place that I will run to. Of that deep blue. Thank you again. That is it for us. Please stay tuned and enjoy the rest of the program tonight.
Thank you. That was awesome. So amazing. What a treat, right? What a way to have a climax for what has been an awesome summer music series. And we were thrilled that all of the factors came together, that all the musicians showed up to support not only Hope, but to support you all enjoying having some music right into your homes. And the same with the nonprofits that joined us for the talks. They too are looking to get their word out, and the fact that they could speak to the wisdom and the passion that they have to the very difficult topics that are in our times and need to be talked about. They too were so grateful to be able to come into your homes. So thank you so much for joining us. And Clandestine Amigo, you were the perfect climax. Before I bring Scott on, I just wanted to speak again to our gala coming up on September 25th. Many of you know that Hope has been in service for coming on 14 years now in Longmont proper. And Hope started when there were 5, 6, maybe 7 people who died on the streets during a really cold winter. And there was a small group of individuals that came together and said, this just isn't okay to happen in our very own town. And in response to that, started a program that is still part of what Hope does. And that's what we call now our Soup Angel program. I'm not sure if that was the coined term back then, but they would make food and they would drive around and they would give it out and they would help anyone that was out on the streets with other resources. Now, since then, we have grown so much. Not only have we, as of last year, started an overnight shelter that's 7 nights a week, but we have 2 client advocates. That means everyone that stays with us has a personal support system for whatever might be their quandaries, their questions, their need of support. We also have a pretty full staff, and we have medical assistance programs. We help out with tax assistance. We opened a day shelter in response to COVID. Many don't realize that when COVID happened and so many public buildings needed to close, many of our people going through homelessness or other sorts of challenges lost access to important public buildings, places like rec centers and libraries where they could take showers or do job searches on the internet. And we graciously responded in partnership with a few other churches and many, many individuals in the area by opening up a shelter that is still going. Back in March, we thought it would be a month or two, and we are now set to keep that open indefinitely. It's open every day from 1 to 5. Now, I have mentioned many times our third program, which started just 3 months ago now, and that's our Safe Lot program, which is safe parking for those that sleep in their cars. Sometimes when you think of shelters, you don't realize that not everybody can stay in a shelter. Families can't stay in shelters. People with pets can't stay in shelters. Individuals with extreme PTSD can't stay in shelters. And oftentimes they either sleep in their cars or have nowhere to go. In response to that, we received the funding to open what we call Safe Lot. And our very first program has been going now for 12 weeks strong. Our parking spaces are full, and we offer them the same services that we offer to everyone else that we work with. That is help and assistance with housing, with employment, hot meals, showers, laundry, medical assistance, and we're working on auto assistance. We don't have that yet, so if you like to work on cars, just let us know. Well, we are set to keep these programs going and to open new programs as the socioeconomic status of our community changes with all of this uncertainty. But to do that, we need the support of all of you. We need the support of volunteers that give their time, of volunteers that give their talents for all of the different roles that we have. And we also need funds. Everything costs money, right? So you can join us for our annual gala that will be the first time virtual, and it's going to be right here on this stage. We are going to have music, we are going to have auctions and paddle raises. I've even got a little committee together that's going to do silly acts so that we can make it really festive for everyone at home. We're going to have live speakers and videos and slides, and we also are delivering baskets for everyone who registers, filled with gifts that have been given to us by the community to make it like a real party. You're going to have candles and favors and wine and baked goods and even coffee to help you stay awake if you're tired at night. So please check out Celebrate Hope, the name of our annual gala, at www.hopeforlongmont.org. And if you want to help spread the word, just reach out to me, and we have a marketing kit and many ways that we can assist you in getting the word out to everyone you know. So now we're going to segue into our talk. This is such an honor to have Scott Brown with us. It's been an honor to have everyone, and Scott is one of those individuals. Let's try to get it right here. So I'm going to actually just read a couple words because I think he articulated it so well on his website and his book, that he's a visionary transformation guide. Scott brings together psychology, spirituality, and nature-based healing to address the root causes of stress, of fear, and of violence in all its forms. I can attest to what he says, that he is a leading advocate for transformational activism and bringing restorative justice to bear on the full range of social and environmental issues. And Scott is also my friend. We lived in community for a year together. I had just finished my national book tour, and he was just beginning his. So, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Yeah,
Great to be here.
it's great to have you. So, if you saw the topic, you saw this is really a challenging topic. Gender, race, ethnicity, and the wound of separation. We're hinting at what we're going to talk about just in the title. But I would love it when we met privately and we were talking about everything that we wanted to try to bring into tonight. You quoted that vulnerability is the engine for human maturation. And I couldn't agree more, but could you speak to it so everyone could understand what that means?
Well, first, credit to my teacher who gave me that insight, Fleet Mall, a Buddhist peacemaker. That just, it resonated with me right off the bat, that if I'm not vulnerable, if I'm not open, then there isn't a lot of new information that can come in. There isn't a lot of deep learning. And so it has just been a theme throughout my peacemaker career and training that it's that kind of openness, that kind of humility. And it's a great way to start our talk tonight, because I come in feeling very tender and vulnerable and very much that beginner's mind, you know. There's so much happening in our world right now. There's so much learning that I am doing around racism, the history of this country. One of the words that comes up a lot in what I'm reading is innocence. Innocence in the sense of, as a white man, I have been able to choose to ignore so much of the history of this country and our roots in genocide, in slavery. And so as a white man in particular, I think I've been able to kind of claim a kind of innocence. But I'm seeing how it was a choice and it was a kind of ignorance. And I think the call now is to do a lot of waking up.
Wake up. I love that phrase, waking up. Waking up is somewhat gentle. I think about waking up in the mornings. And when the sun comes in, oftentimes when we wake up, it's because we've let ourselves be touched. We've been moved in some way. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a shakeup, but the actual experience of waking up, whether it comes through suffering or whether it comes through an experience of love, that actual waking up has a quality of consolation to it too. There's a resting into a knowing that we've experienced something that is closer to what we might say is true.
Right, and I think vulnerability implies openness at the heart level. And being willing to be moved. And I can tell you it's happening to me a lot these days, just listening to the news, just feeling impacted and not separate.
Right. It's impossible when our hearts are open to realize how connected we are, to feel separate. And it brings us to what we wanted to move to next. And I know you didn't really want to speak to an essential definition to concepts like race and gender and ethnicity, and that's okay. We can bypass that. But I wanted to say something to it. They're words. The word race and the word ethnicity and the word gender and words like it, there's many other words like that, point to something. And in the purer sense of that, when they've been done from a place of hoping to draw people together, it's pointing to what I would consider would be diversity, or celebrating of a way we're different in a way that looks to the other for another expression of wisdom and light, even though it's not me. But then there are other ways that we use concepts like this to do exactly the opposite, to create more of a divide. I went to a museum in Minnesota a couple years back that they had a special exhibition on the origins of the word race. And it comes from a study done by two men over in Europe, I can't even remember where now, where they qualified that phrase as a way of categorizing human beings on a spectrum of superiority and inferiority, that the origins of the word itself, at least in the museum, it pointed to that. And so I think it's really powerful to name that these concepts carry a lot of unconscious tones to them even as we use them. And yet we need to face it straight on, right? When we were talking about seeing reality as it is and opening up the fact that reality's got a lot more layers than what meets the eye. So one of those was racism as a system, and you were speaking to that. I would love if you shared with everybody more about that and the entry point when it comes to healing that sense of division coming from the racism concept.
Well, the reason I didn't want to talk about essential definitions is because I'm feeling like I don't know anything right now. I'm getting so much information, and it's just left me really humble. One of those pieces of information is that the whole concept of black and white people is relatively new. That was a creation to help justify slavery. And I had no idea, because I've been swimming in that water of systemic racism and othering and separation. And so just learning just that much is like, wow, kind of stops me dead in my tracks to ponder that and all that it justified. And so continuing that learning around this, the systemic, institutionalized, subtle and not so subtle, microaggressions, really blatant macroaggressions. It's all there to see right now. And I'm so grateful for the activists and the people that are putting themselves on the line right now to wake us up. And I also mentioned being very inspired by James Baldwin and his take. I hadn't realized, I knew he was a famous black writer. I didn't realize he was a chronicler of the civil rights movement and a friend of Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X and many others, and much beloved in that community. He saw the first Reconstruction in this country after the Civil War as a failure, ultimately. He saw the civil rights movement in this country ultimately as a failure to really reckon with racism. It still left this legacy of separateness and othering and not seeing people of color in their full humanity. And so we have, I think this is the third moment to reconstruct this country and own up to the deep wound of separation. So it's a juicy time, it's a rich time, it's frightening. There's so many other things going on, and it's a reckoning. Colorado, I guess it was an NPR show. I just listened to the first episode today, but they've had a series called, I think, The Summer of Reckoning. And it's about the killings of unarmed black people and the response. Very, very rich, very important.
And I truly love the way that you're speaking to it, because it allows us to hold to the essential opportunity at the same time to face front the real issues. And it was reminding me of a book that I read called The Holy Longing by Ronald Rolheiser. And he points out, he quotes the Paschal mystery as a 5-part process to transformation. And step 1 is quite simple: to name the death. And it seems like from how you're referring to the issues that we're talking about, the wound of separation, is the first step is to name what it is, to name the fact that these past movements failed, to name where we're really at right now, not as a loss of optimism or a sense of powerlessness, but as a true surrender into the devastating reality so that we can move forward and ascend into the new life part, so that we can wake up to think truly differently about things.
Right. I love that. I'm just reminded that Martin Luther King's ultimate vision was for the beloved community. You know, it was so much more than equal rights, voting rights, even as huge as that was. So, yeah.
Right. Well, it brings us right into the wound of separation. And you quoted a phrase, original trauma. Love that. So can you speak more to that so that if you're listening at home, you can reflect on the real meaning of what original trauma might be pointing to as an opportunity to shift perspective in how we respond and reckon with the issues we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, first, just a nod to Resmaa Menakem, I think is his name, the author of a book called My Grandmother's Hands, which is about racialized trauma. And he's a body-centered therapist, a black man, and he emphasizes the roots of racism as being a trauma response, being a part of the lizard brain, he calls it, the reptilian brain, and a fear-based response. So it got me thinking again about this idea of original trauma, which in my eco-psychology program at Naropa, one of our teachers, not in person, but through her books, cellist Glenn Dining, has a book called My Name is Cellist and I'm in Recovery from Western Civilization. And she's an eco-psychologist, and she relates it, along with the cultural anthropologist Paul Shepard, back to the separation from the earth. Really back to the beginnings of agriculture, and 10,000 years ago, when most of humanity became sedentary and dependent upon agriculture, that was the beginning of a kind of us versus them. You know, good plants, the ones we eat; bad plants, the weeds. You know, good animals, the ones we domesticate, utilize; bad animals, the ones that come and kill our good animals. So the beginnings of a subtle shift, and that makes sense to me, that there's roots for it, and this idea that humanity has not always been traumatized. And the other thing that Resmaa brings forward in his book is, as white people, the trauma that we brought to this land from Europe, where punishment was meted out, justice was things like being drawn and quartered, being flogged in public, being hanged, you know, just intense violence, beheadings. You know, this is our legacy, and we wear that in our bodies. It's in the genes, it's in the DNA, and it gets passed from generation to generation.
Yeah, and I mean, you're speaking so eloquently to that, and it also gets me reflecting on the paradox of spirituality in all of this. As you know, and as most of you viewers know, I'm a minister, and my love is this love affair of consciousness coming into form and embodying divine love. And as human beings, we have created systems to assist us in that surrender over the years, right? The various religions, the various philosophies have started in their purest and innocent sense as a response to an ecstatic experience of what is possible in being a human being. And yet, unfortunately, more often than not, has ended up increasing division because of the us and them it's formed, whether it's been between cultures, between religions, between theologies, between judgments of who's enlightened and who isn't enlightened. And there's a great devastation there, because then you've got morality attached to the killing and to the aggression, which feels even worse. And I know in my seminary training, we traced back how often traditions, because human beings were seen as this image and likeness of God, that in that very statement, in that very identification was, and you're not, rather than, and all is. And in that, and you're not, what was framed in the best sense of it was a stewardship. Oh, we're stewards of the earth. But more often it was, no, we're meant to dominate. We're meant to use the earth however we feel like we'd like to.
Well, that reminds me of the doctrine of discovery. You know, a papal decree in something like 1493, which legitimized the stealing of land in a spiritual, moral, political, economic context. And so, yeah, that paradoxical nature of organized religion.
We'll just name it, because I think we want the second part of this talk to move towards the call to action, the opportunity that's there. And I know most of us human beings, we'd like, when we have an insight into a challenge or a problem, to know that there's a solution, that there is a path towards resolution, towards healing and transformation. And I'm deeply moved and impressed by the path you've taken that's so somatic oriented. Share more about why and a little bit more about what that is, so maybe those at home can put something into practice.
Sure, and maybe something that can be a further bridge, is this idea of one of our deepest needs and longings as human beings is belonging. And so I think there's something about gender and ethnicity that is striving for that. And there's something about the wound of separation that leaves us feeling very empty and insecure. And so there's all kinds of things that we do to fill that hole. And I think othering other people, judging them, is one of the ways we do that, one of the unfortunate ways we do that. So I changed course about 15 years ago from being a professional environmental activist to wanting to go deeper into nonviolence and really understand the root causes of why are we doing this to ourselves, to our earth, our life support system. Why do I do it to myself? You know, the self-loathing. It's just like, why? You know, what is this all about? And it led me to separation as the root cause. So everything I've done in that time has been in service of trying to heal that in myself and offering others some steps.
And what I think is brilliant about what you're going to be sharing is that this isn't spiritual bypassing. The realization that we are interconnected in our environment as human beings, cosmologically speaking, that we are truly interconnected, isn't negating, it actually embraces all that we're talking about. The healing happens on that essential level, and then can recognize the difference and diversity that makes up the world. So I just wanted to add to that because it's so easy to misunderstand that we're all one, right? We're all one. And there's truth there, but
Yes, and I'm appreciating more and more that without that, call it spiritual perspective, I don't think real conflict transformation is possible. I kind of think we're just kidding ourselves because it's so easy to get hooked. It's just so easy. So, yes, I think the path to healing, as this author in of my grandmother's hands notes, is it really starts in the body, because trauma lives in the body. And so that underscores the importance of mindfulness, of being present. I know for this white body, feeling coming back into this body has been a huge part of the journey and the calling to slow down, to settle, and then have a foundation to move from. So in my book, I write about really a fourfold path, which is healing the relationship to self, which is that mindfulness, self-acceptance, self-love, facing the shadow as the foundation, and then moving to healing the relationship to the earth. Because I think we've all experienced how in nature we can feel whole, we can feel connected, we can feel ease and flow, and we see it in all these other beings around us. You know, they know what they are, you know, and they do it really well and consistently, right? So that to me feels like a foundation, healing the relationship to self, to nature, and then to other people, the interpersonal, which we know is kind of where the rubber really starts to hit the road. And then the fourth layer is healing the relationship to the world through a transpersonal approach to activism, you know, activism that's not rooted in the ego, but in our interconnectedness. And that to me is a holistic, integrated approach that's not linear, because, you know, as soon as I get involved in activism, boy, I have to come back to my breath. I have to come back to my body, because not only is it interpersonal, but there's such strong feelings about what should be and what I want, and it's very tempting to go to othering, you know, in that territory.
there's a false sense of power in force, right? Even in the commitment for something that seems so right, like saving someone's life or changing a belief that is destructive. There can be this illusion that using force, that acting from a place of force is a real sense of empowerment. And so you mentioned ignorance as being a threat, right? Ignorance plus power is where the threat is.
Yeah, ignorance plus power
Yes.
is deadly.
Yeah, it is deadly, right? I think we've all experienced that, whether it's in relation to ourselves, not really realizing who we are essentially, and using, like you mentioned, using that destructiveness inwardly, but even outwardly, I'm sure in relationships, we can all relate to moments when power was used in our direction in a destructive way, and it was coming from a place of ignorance.
Yeah, I use the word ignorance a lot in the Buddhist context of not stupid, but just not fully aware of reality, awake to reality, and who is, you know. So it's very much, it's a lot harder to go to us versus them when you're holding your own ignorance that way. It's like, wow, I'm just still learning so much.
Love that. In a tantra school that I love, that idea is, the word for it is concealment. And when revelation happens, the concealment is broken into awareness. Speaks in the same way, but it really softens the way we can take a hard stance against awake and asleep, or right and wrong, or all of that. So
Yeah, and there's so much paradox around vulnerability, humility, and action, the need to be engaged. And I love how you're underscoring the opportunity. And it just makes me want to underscore the importance of just responsibility, personal responsibility. Like, circling back to where I started, taking responsibility for learning some history about slavery and the Black experience, taking some responsibility for healing harm in my community, which is one of my big focuses these days, is these trainings in active peace circles, which has taken the principles and practices of restorative justice, which is so powerful, and empowering the community with those. So we don't leave it up to the justice system, because the justice system isn't going to touch a lot of issues that need touching right now. And I think as citizens, we've abdicated a lot of responsibility for decisions. I abdicated it to politicians who've abdicated it themselves.
it's true. And I always love being reminded, and I got this phraseology from a book called The Undefended Self by Susan Thasanga. Excellent work. It's called The Path Work, started by another woman. We won't get into that. But what's pointed out there in that path of personal healing and transformation is that taking responsibility is different than reinforcing shame, blame, and guilt. That the shame, blame, and guilt actually is a way of increasing division and increasing the woundedness. But taking responsibility liberates. And usually, like, if you've got that kind of guilt thing going or the blame thing going, it's usually a little flag that there's a little defensiveness happening within in some way. And the vulnerability is not being stepped into fully. So
One of the really important books right now is called White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. And she's quick to point out that white guilt is a form of fragility and cop-out, and that was really the book that I kind of started my education with, and it was a good place to start. White fragility. And she's a diversity trainer, and so she talks about these organizations that invite her in to help them see their racism. And as soon as she points it out in the moment, people get defensive and don't want to deal with her anymore. So they don't really want it at some level. They're not ready for it. It takes a certain amount of resourcing. And I think that's where coming back to the body, coming back to presence comes in. The earth always supporting us, and that larger perspective on what we truly are as human beings. With those resources, we can engage in that work.
right. And on that note, we're already coming to the end of our time. It goes so fast, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So with that, I know we didn't get to address directly gender, but it's caught in all of this. And we have so many individuals in our world right now that are truly courageous. I mean, stepping forward so vulnerably to recognize what they're experiencing on a gender level and taking steps to act on it, to embody it, to name it, even if it's different than what the mainstream might say is what you need to be or what you need to say you are. So I want to honor anyone who also was listening for the sake of the gender topic, that it's caught in the same dialogue that we're having now with race and ethnicity. So, but I don't want to end this without giving Scott a chance to let you know that he has 2 trainings that are coming up in the fall. And he has, as I mentioned, he's got a book, an awesome book, and he is actively in our community working with organizations to help bring about the very healing that he's been speaking to. You can tell he really he walks his exploration, and he himself has walked step by step through his own changes that bring him to this point of wisdom that he has to share. So tell us about the trainings, and you can learn more on his website. You saw that 4, the number 4, activepeace.com, but also learn a little bit more right here from Scott about what they are.
So I'm offering 2 levels of active Peace Circle training. The first one starts September 23rd. It is 6 sessions at 2 hours each. There's 2 different time slots, 10 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And as I mentioned earlier, they are really taking the principles and practices of restorative justice out of the justice system and empowering the community with them, and really holding space for a deep level of healing, of listening, unpacking harm, repairing harm, changing systems, and really addressing root causes. So it's gotten a really good response, and I'm very psyched to have another group of people training in the work who can hopefully go through the different levels and become facilitators of the work. There's so much harm in our communities that isn't going to be addressed. You know, the typical ways: protest, litigation, legislation, they don't do it. Nobody's left satisfied. Victims are left still feeling victimized, even if people are convicted. And then those are kind of some of the big issues that can be addressed with the work, but it's also applicable to small group dynamics and interpersonal relationships, because it is very mindful, very deep that way around staying present, showing respect, taking responsibility, prioritizing relationships. A lot of that comes right from restorative justice, and I'm very loyal to it, and it goes to a different level. So, so really the best way to get info is to send me an email at scott@4activepeace.com.
And if you don't remember that or can't look back on the PowerPoint for some reason, just email me at Hope, and I'll make sure that I get you personally connected with Scott. Thank you for this dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly, and all the best to you and the organization, which is doing great work. And I loved the music.
The music is awesome too.
I haven't heard a lot of live music these days, so that was a
totally.
treat. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone at home, for joining us. It has been a fantastic Summer Sundown Music and Talk series, so stay tuned for more. Have a great night, everybody. Bye.